Hello. Welcome to yet another episode of Air It Out, brought to you by your gracious host, Vonnie from 0tacoon. I'm thoroughly excited for this. First of all, I say this all the time. I'm thoroughly excited for this episode. But this one, I personally sought out this person to interview, and I am absolutely in love with your art. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about so many different things. You have interests that I also have interest in, and I don't even know where to start. But first and foremost, let's start with your name. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Yeah, hi. I'm Jeff, Jeff Johnson, or as I typically go by on the internet, 0tacoon. Pretty much everywhere. I am a production artist and previously a freelancer before being recently hired just this year. And I've been a very busy bee these past few months, so I can say that much for sure.
Listen, man, when the money calls and time gets a little bit stricter and more stringent, it is what it is. But like everything that I see you're doing, at least like from my view of like, your inside aspect, looks like it's looking great. Looks beautiful, bro. So first and foremost, the very first topic that I always like to go to with these interviews is the air it out topic itself. And what that means is you get to air it out on any one topic you want to talk about. You can come in and say, hey, I thoroughly enjoyed Sonic Frontiers, and this is why. You could say Sonic 06 was an absolute pile of dog shit, and here's why. You could talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Feel free, the floor is yours.
Oh man. Well, since you brought up Sonic, actually, there is something I do want to say about Sonic, and that's maybe this is a popular opinion. I don't know. I feel like it's always been an unpopular opinion, but I think Sonic Unleashed is a misunderstood classic, in my honest opinion.
Walk me through this. No, land that plane. Walk me through this.
Okay. So I get it. Everyone was not super into the werehog stuff, even though I think he looks pretty cute. He's a cute, fuzzy little guy.
Yep.
And I will freely admit, against my own my own points here, the battle music is very repetitive, and
Mm.
it's like, why couldn't you have made unique tracks for every anyway? It's just, for me personally, I came into playing that at a very, like, the height of my love for Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the, at the time, HD console versions of it. I had the Wii version, which is
Oh.
the best version actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because it was really hyper focused on what it needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it cut out like a lot of extra fluff, even though some
Mm-hmm.
of that fluff in the HD versions were pretty good. Like the cities, I really enjoy walking around the cities in the HD versions of that game.
Right.
But the things that about that game that are so good to me is I feel like they really were starting to nail the style. I love how they stylize the humans and everything.
Right.
And then the gameplay for the daytime levels, they were, in my opinion, really fun. And like the amount of like tricks and things you could do to get those S ranks, the A ranks, just high ranks,
Right.
and just beat your speed. I don't know, it clicked for me. And the music, oh my goodness. I mean, Sonic music's good.
Yo,
Like,
they never miss. They
never
never
miss.
miss.
I like, even in the worst games possible, the music is just always going to be a good time. And Unleashed has some of my favorite music.
Bro, even Sonic 06 had his world.
Dude, oh, I,
Right.
it still gets in my head. I haven't heard it in like years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll just be walking along somewhere, and I'll just, in
In
his
his
world.
world. Where
It's like,
man, what? All right, so before we
yeah,
even get more into you, this actually prompts a really good question.
Okay.
The last episode, I did a Mount Rushmore of horror movies with the last person that I interviewed. With you, I want to know the Mount Rushmore of Sonic songs. Four Sonic songs that you have to pick that sit up there at the top of the top. I want to know which ones you riding with. And I'm gonna give you mine
Ooh.
too.
Okay. Okay. You want me to go first?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh gosh. Four? Oh man. It's like every time someone asks me about music and it's like, okay, name me your like top 10. I'm like, oh no, I gotta think about top five. I'm like, oh God. Top three, I start panicking. If I had to pick though,
Mm-hmm.
okay, okay. So his world is definitely on that list for
Okay.
sure. I think after that one, Escape from the City. It's
Yes.
just you have to. It's just a banger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Live and Learn
Woo!
is it's good, man. I mean, the adventure games don't miss. And this is going to be a weird one. Okay, this is a weird one.
I'm listening.
It's not one of the themes. It's one of the Sonic Rush level tracks, actually, for me.
Sonic Rush. That's the one where Blaze first came, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Let me ask, is it the right there? Right on, right? Is it that one? Or
yes,
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 bro.
sir. Let's
Oh my
go.
gosh.
Let's go, boy.
Oh, it
Man,
just every time, like if I need to get like in the
bruh.
zone, I just turn that on. I'm like, it's just so good.
You know how
And
many times I've been on a treadmill and almost bust my ass because the man. Oh my god, yes, yes.
okay, what are yours though? What are yours? What are your four?
This is tough. And I want to preface this by saying, while I think Sonic Adventure 2's soundtrack is absolutely godly, I do not have it as the greatest Sonic soundtrack of all time. And I know
Ooh,
that's a
okay,
hot take.
okay.
My answer to that is Sonic R. Um, but if I got to pick four, I'm gonna go Live and Learn. From Sonic R, I'm picking Diamonds in the Sky.
Ooh, okay, okay, okay.
I'm gonna say number three. I'm gonna reach back to the past and say Spring Yard Zone.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna
We're going
say,
real classic.
and number four, I can't put Vandalize there. No, I can't put Vandalize there. That's crazy. Is it great? It's not. No, it's kind of crazy. Number four, I'm going. This is okay, and this game absolutely sucked, but this song is absolutely a banger. Um, I think I'm gonna say the Crush 40 version of All Hail Shadow from Shadow the Hedgehog.
That is a good one. That is a
I'm
pretty
saying,
good one.
and that was
Yes.
hard because they had I Am All of Me up there. Like they had some shit.
Mm, that is
It,
true.
they had a really, really great soundtrack for me to go there and give Shadow the Hedgehog a gun and skate through the city. I was like, as a child, I probably shouldn't be playing this, but here we are.
Mhm. I mean, listen, I I played a lot of Shadow the Hedgehog back in the day. I wanted to get all the roots. I didn't care how hard it was. I died so many times. I had to get the true ending.
I feel you. You had to get that true ending because, like, all the other ones, it felt like it was like, okay, I got here, I did all of this, and you kind of let me down. Like, getting the actual ultimate ending was like, okay, this is great, but that game just still overall. Uh,
It
uh,
was an attempt. An attempt was made.
I see what they tried to do there, and I honestly think now, if they would have went that route, they could probably do something with it. But I think I'm just happy. I'm in a bracket who likes Sonic Frontier, so I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna celebrate this win right here, and I'm gonna run with
Mm.
this, and I'm not gonna give Sega much flack on that sense because it's like I know they like to reinvent the wheel. They reinvented it pretty well this time.
That's what I keep hearing. I'm honestly, I have not tried Sonic Frontiers yet, but I feel like I would enjoy it. So it's just a matter of finding the time and then going to pick it up. But I'm glad to hear you like it.
Yeah,
That's just making me want to get it more.
by all means, like please play that game whenever you get the chance. And I know it's hard getting that chance with having that busy schedule, but like that busy schedule came from hours and hours of you working on your craft. I want to know more about, the artistry yourself. So like how did
Mm.
that come to be?
Ooh, like just from the very get go.
Yeah, like walk me through like okay, the Otakun start to now, like just give me the genesis story of where it's like not you being born, obviously, but like from you like picking up and saying, you know what, this art thing, this is where I want to go.
Okay, yeah, at the point where I wanted to start taking very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, actually, that is interesting because before I was just kind of like working and doing little bits of art here and there, mostly for myself. But I think, and I'm like trying to picture this in my mind on which came first. But I'm pretty sure the initial starting point was actually I watched this documentary. It's called The Cartoonist,
Yeah.
and it's about Jeff Smith and his work on Bone,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorite comics. And reading the comic itself, but also watching that documentary, I don't know what exactly it was, but I think it was the idea of seeing somebody who was not working for the big three or
Right.
four or five now. I've lost track. Like, it was just one guy who had an idea for a story, wanted to tell it, and then just did it. He was just like, I'm just going to do this now.
Yep.
I seeing the process of how he went from working just as like doing funny comics in his college newspaper to then working on his own personal projects to eventually making Bone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm like, I could do that. And I was like, maybe 13, 14 at the time. And since then, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna make comics.
Yep.
And it's from that point I would be like developing my own characters and stuff, which at the time were very much influenced by my two loves, Sonic the Hedgehog and Ratchet and Clank.
Oh man. Yes. Yes.
And so lots of furry little guys. But it was actually from that point, it kind of ties back into a much earlier memory. And that was when I was much younger. I want to say like maybe 8, 9. Um, I had taken this family vacation and we went down to Legoland, which I don't know if that's still a thing or not.
Is Legoland still a thing?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up.
You know what?
But
I'm gonna do you better. I'm gonna actually look it up right now. Legoland. Wow, I botched that spelling. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, no, apparently Legoland is definitely still a thing. There's like
Lego is
three
eternal.
shit, there's like three of them in the area. I've
Oh,
never I've never been, so I don't, but
well, the reason I bring that up is because when I was there,
mm,
back when you had to go to the little shop on the side to go purchase like more film for your Polaroid. um,
I remember them days, but
yeah.
yeah.
Remember Polaroids?
Yes.
We went into there. I was checking up with my dad, and he had brought up that I like to draw, and I was really into Sonic at that time. And this nice young woman there, probably a teenager at the time, um, was like, "Oh, I can draw you a little Sonic, sure." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so, out of the kindness of her heart, she drew this wonderful picture of Sonic for me with like pen and like highlighter. And on the back, she wrote down, "Hey, this is my DeviantArt page if you want to go take a look at it." And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, there's there's a place on the internet where you can go and like look at art. That's crazy.
That's how they got you. That's how
That's how they.
DeviantArt got you.
Yeah, that's how they got me. So I went on there. I couldn't find her for a long time. Eventually, I did,
Mhm.
but I was like, oh, I should make my own account and I should post my own drawings and stuff. And cut back to that point after I watched The Cartoonist, I was already deep into the DeviantArt scene,
Mhm.
and a lot of my now friends were getting into this thing called an OCT. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, I know what an OC is, but an OCT I do not. Tell me more.
Okay. So now this was definitely much a thing that was like ingrained in the DeviantArt like society, I think, at the time, especially for comics.
Hmm.
And it stood for Original Character Tournament. And
Huh.
essentially people would make DeviantArt groups and it would be all themed around like a particular type of like idea or setting. And the way it would work is that people would audition to get into the OCT. And then after a nice like lineup of selection, whether it's like 32, 16, whatever, um, we would then all essentially draw comics every round of like a matchup.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was in one called the City OCT. It's probably not active or still around all that much anymore because it was a long time. It was like 2011, and but I wanted to participate because
Yeah.
I had my little guy, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. I want to do comics, and so I jumped in on that. I got to maybe round, I want to say round 3 or 4 out of 5. It was pretty close, and I had learned so much in that time. I met so many cool people through that experience that I was like, you know what? Okay, I think I'm just going to work on my own comic now.
Yeah.
And, and that's kind of like how I kind of kept going from there. So essentially, it was just after that point, I was getting way more serious about working in either comics or just art as a professional medium.
Right.
Um, so kind of jumping from that point, it was me either attempting to work on my web comic or um, doing freelance gigs on the side. And over time, some of those things kind of went up
Yeah.
and down. It was,
Fluctuated.
yeah, very much a roller coaster of an experience. But um, it's through that process and meeting a lot of really great people that I really kind of started to grow from there. I had some people that worked in like freelance gigs, so they would like often provide lots of advice and stuff. I was able to work on like a couple of book covers, did some like NDA stuff with some indie games that unfortunately never came out.
Ah,
Um,
don't you hate when that
and
happens?
it's, man, it's like I can't even talk about it.
Right. Because I know they got that NDA or something there where it's like you cannot go crazy about it in public, but like the gems and just the opportunity there, I know that hurts me. Ah.
It sucks
Mm.
because like one of them I was like really excited to see like become a thing. Um, but it's just unfortunately it's just things kind of fell apart and I signed that dotted line, so it's like, well, that's how it is.
Contractually
Um,
obligated.
yeah, yeah. But I think from there it kind of eased into more of like me just doing commission work over the time.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, um, through I wanted to say sheer coincidence, while during my attempt to move, my recent move, I was able to land this job over here in my new home state. Uh,
Nice.
and I don't think there's like any like crazy like story from like the point where I started making comics to that point, as so much as like just coasting on those waves and then just looking for opportunities to kind of come. And that one just was perfect. It landed right there. And I was like, all right, you gotta shoot your shot. If you don't, you're gonna
Gonna
regret
regret
it.
it. Gonna regret it. You shot that shot and look where it went. Look at where you're at
Yes.
now. That shit is amazing.
Hmm.
Now the whole point about like the waves and aspect, I'm gonna circle back to that at one point, but
Hmm.
there was something very interesting you brought up about OCTs and things of that nature. You
Hmm.
having an OC from way back when. What was that OC's name, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, so that OC was Pyre the Bobcat. Um,
It was an X the Y type of character.
yeah,
I've,
yeah, yeah.
I've had my fair share. I get you. I get you.
uh, but that character actually still lives on, funnily enough. Um, if you've checked out any of my work,
Mm-hmm.
um, Ravi is actually that character.
I'm glad you brought that up because that brought up to my next point. First and foremost, thank you for telling me how to pronounce that person's name because I was like, is it Ravi? Is it Ravi? It's Ravi.
Yes, that's 13-year-old me, or 15-year-old me, I guess, at the time, like going like, how can I make a fantasy name? Okay, let's just sound it out.
I've had that moment too, trying to make a fancy name, and like one of them I came up with was like, and this is the first time I did weed or whatever. It was named Farzion or some shit like that. I was like,
Okay.
wow, this is the cringiest shit I've came up with ever.
I don't know, that sounds like a fantasy name though. I
It
think
does. I might
I think
maybe
it,
one day.
you accomplished your goal.
My thing is, so Robbie wasn't the one that got me in the door. Robbie was the one that kept me there.
Okay.
But Renee. So
Oh, mm-hmm.
now that I know the genesis of Robbie, can you tell me the genesis of Renee? Can you give me some background lore? Like, how did that
Sure.
come to be? And do they have some kind of a interaction relate? How does that work?
Okay. So, but first off, I do have to make a slight correction. It's the name's actually Reen. Reen.
Oh,
Um,
Reen.
yeah, yeah. So the last E is like a little silent there. Um, but okay, so Reen is that's actually a newer character of mine.
Yeah.
Um, and actually has no real relation to Ravi herself
Hmm.
because this was a character I wanted to make for some time after being inspired by a lot of different tropes that I enjoy. One of them being space pirates. We don't have
Hmm.
enough space pirates.
We
And
don't, dude.
we
Like
don't.
the space pirates in the night. Like came from the generation of the Cowboy Bebops, the Outlaw Stars, the I'm trying to the Triguns, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's another set of space pirates that's gonna come up, and I don't want to say the name of this game yet because there's a full section I want to have dedicated to that.
Ooh, okay, okay.
But yeah, the space pirates, we definitely need more of that. And I feel like Space Dandy kind of sort of gave us that a little bit, but
A little bit.
we need that space mischief video game or like anime or something in the worst way soon.
God, I want it so bad. You don't understand how much I want it so bad. Um, so yeah, Reen is actually my answer to that. I'm like, I want to make
Mhm.
something with that space mischief. I think that's a good set of words to perfectly describe what I'm looking for because it's not space opera, it's
Yeah,
not like space wars or something. It's mischief.
mischief. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And you know what's funny? It's like the correlation of them two, one being your love for that, we call it space mischief, and the other one just being, starting from the really your origination grounds, how that all kind of came to be is really cool. How we draw inspiration from a bunch of other things and we kind of make our own spin on it and we turn it and give it its own set of life. um
Mm-hmm.
which leads into this point and the reason how I found you in the first place. I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about this game called Mega Man Legends, right?
Ah, yes. Ah.
So, before we get into this discussion, I just want to say Mega Man Legends is my very favorite video game of all time. Just to get that out off the plate now,
Mhm.
the art that you do. and the low poly aspect, and how Reen essentially I think Reen was the one I noticed. I don't remember if you have like actual you rigged Reen and you have her moving on YouTube, but I feel like I might either that or I might have just seen I can't remember, but
Hmm.
I I feel like I
Well,
remember specifically seeing either action shots or like actual movement of Reen, and that was what drew me in. Like, I need to interview this person.
oh yeah, well, okay. I don't have her moving just yet, but I did rig her up. That is correct. I It might be more the a lot of I had a lot of work in progress shots because I essentially spent like a whole month trying to learn Blender. And
Stunt.
I was like, I have to learn Blender because I want to work in 3D someday.
Yep.
And low poly is some of my favorite styles when it comes to 3D. You
Test
know, there's
kits.
just nothing like it.
The goats,
And
if you will.
yes, 110%. And it also is more achievable for a beginner.
That's a fact. That was like, yo, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, right? You obviously I can't, but I saw your thing and I was like, why didn't I think about the fact that I could maybe make my own low poly character? I could do this. So it all comes full circle about how you saw the deviant art and stuff. You said, "Hey, I can do this. I can join in this OCT." People are looking at you right now saying the same thing. I want you to know that.
Well, I think that's the best. That's the best kind of thing I could hear because I do want more people to try stuff like that. I remember sharing that model. I think on like it was like low poly Reddit or something like that, the
Mm.
subreddit. And I
Yep.
remember people reaching out to me and been like, "Hey, how'd you do this and do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. You know what? I have resources for you. Hold up." And I would literally just start listing different things I watched and whatnot because it is achievable. I think one thing I've always said about any type of skill that you want to have, if you just have the passion for it and you make the time for it, you can learn it because I've seen it many times. I mean, I've had friends that like really love music and they're like, I'm just gonna learn guitar. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay. And then literally a month later, they're already like, I know like 5 songs. And I'm like, that's insane. It would take me probably 3 or 4 months before I got to that point. And it's the same thing here. Like I literally spent like a month just trying to learn how to do like modeling, rigging. Oh gosh, rigging, weight painting. Ooh.
Bro, like the amount of in-depth aspect that people don't realize goes into animation, like yeah, like there's a lot that people don't know. And honestly, G, like when people have conversations with animators and you start getting listings of their prices and stuff for like commissions, I'll look at what they're asking and I'm like, makes sense because I see what
Yeah.
y'all got to go through to get to that. Can't
Yeah.
complain.
Oh, it's like especially once you see it from the other side, you're like, oh,
Oh,
oh, of course. Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
maybe I should shut the fuck up and just pay you.
You know what? Maybe so.
My thing
Yeah.
is, like, the backpack really quickly. Mega Man
Mhm.
Legends, right? Can you
Oh, yes.
I want to know your experience with this game and how that like inspired just that low poly, you going the low poly route.
Okay. So now this is really interesting because
Mm,
my experience with Mega Man Legends, and please don't be disappointed, is
yeah.
actually not as much as it might appear because I have two pieces of experience with that game. And the first one is I actually played it when I was like a wee little baby man. Um, because I was like being babysat at like a friend's house and they had a PlayStation and they had Mega Man Legends and I got to try it. And for the longest time, all I could think was, there's the little blue guy who can climb up buildings and shoot stuff. I want to play that game. And the next time I went to go stay with him because I hogged it the whole time or something, uh, they're like, we don't have that game anymore. I was like, well,
like
why not?
like go back to Blockbuster now.
Gosh, Blockbuster. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm taking psychic damage.
Yo.
Like, I remember playing it and wanting to find out what that game was for years, for decades. And it wasn't until maybe like, oh, I don't know, when I 5 years or more ago, probably longer than that. I'm probably missing my sense of time is kind of it's whack.
Same.
And I was like, oh, this is the game. This is the game I was looking for this whole time. And I really wanted to play it. So I tried to find it. Couldn't find it. And so then I
Mm-hmm.
had to find it
Mm-hmm.
elsewhere. And the thing with that is I did play it for quite a bit, and it was everything I hoped for.
Yeah.
Um, but the unfortunate thing is I also like one didn't have the time to just like really sink into it all the time. But then also like because unfortunately the game does not work on with joysticks and stuff.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah.
Um, it's not great for my hands as someone who draws a lot. So I do have to do it in like short bursts.
That's a fact.
But that didn't stop me from absorbing it and reading about it and watching videos about it and everything else. I just like how they do the expressions in that game is
Bro, phenomenal.
I was just like, why aren't more games doing stuff like this, especially in low poly games? It's like
It's
it's
I feel
insane.
like that's the thing with a lot of these games, right? Like for example, we'll get like a lot of horror based low poly games from Puppet Combo and stuff, which are
Yeah,
great. That's
yeah,
no means of shitting on it or anything like that because I
no.
love watching let's plays of those. But it's like
Yes.
I need like the fucking low poly adventure, man. I need like I want to be able to go and jump and do stuff. I know there are a bunch of indie developers who are actually making games like that, but like
Mm-hmm.
my greatest thing, first and foremost, the greatest letdown of my life was Mega Man Legends 3 getting canceled. I don't think you realized how much that hurt my fucking spirit when I was a child. Like, I legitimately I almost bought a 3DS for that game alone. First and foremost, why the fuck would you give us that on a 3DS? Um, like there's a lot of different things that had me, but I was like, you know what? I'm a mindless drone fan of this game, and I'm standing with it till it stands the time. So I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna go buy the system, and by the grace that can be, unfortunately, I found out before I went and bought the system that they canceled the game, which I'm like, well, saved X amount of money here, but also, fuck, I wish I had that game.
And like it sucks because like they were that close to like putting out a demo for it. That close. Oh, I'm I maybe not have had the amount of time and experience and like the weight that everyone had with that. But in retrospect, it still hurts
It
me
still
too.
hurts. It doesn't
uh,
matter. It's like, hey, bro, like I wasn't around when Pink Floyd and stuff were live, but I can still enjoy it the same day. Like I can still
yep.
enjoy it the same way as somebody else does.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe one day, like in our dreams, hopefully we'll finally get that third installment. We'll get him off the moon. Everything will be absolutely wonderful and stellar. Um, but like we mentioned dreams, and I want to talk about solar dreams, if you will.
Oh man, you're good at these segues.
So, so
Solar Dream. I mean, what do you want to know? What do you want to
I
know?
want to know whatever you can tell me about it because I'm looking at it and I'm like, whatever this is going to be, I'm already backing and supporting this in any way that I can.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I should start with the elevator pitch. Solar Dream, for
Mhm.
those who don't know, is my personal passion project that I've had for many, many years, probably a decade by now. Um, it's had like a bit of a rocky road because it used to go by another name, Firearm, with a
Mm.
Y. Um, it was my original webcomic way back in the day.
Go
And
figure.
yeah, you can still find it on Tumblr if you want. It's still there. I don't know if I recommend reading it because I mean it's old, but
Oh, but I'm noting it down now to go check it out later.
and Um, that unfortunately had to stop because I had severely injured my wrist at the time, and so I couldn't draw for roughly about a year.
So the
Um,
tendonitis.
I think it was repetitive stress injury. Actually,
Shit.
yeah, and it's still something I struggle with today. I've been meaning to go and like actually get proper therapy for it, which I probably will now,
Yep.
but um, it was something that was really hard hitting at the time. And but not to distract from the question, it that happened, and so I had to put off the project for a while, and it was rough, but during that time, it gave me a lot to reflect on and to really think about the inspirations for the project. So then came Solar Dream, which is a story about a girl who uncovers a mysterious flying engine. And
Ooh.
it's not exactly something that should be out in the world, I guess you could say. A lot of people maybe perhaps want their hands on it,
Mhm.
but she wants to get back home, back to the world in the sky. And it involves her, a couple of bounty hunters, and a whole lot of mischief and trouble.
Base mischief. I love it. Let's go.
it's it's borrowing so much from a lot of things I love, and Mega Man Legends is definitely one of them for sure.
You had me at hello. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, so yeah, that's been a project of mine that I'm hoping to really bring to fruition one of these days. Not entirely sure in what form, but could be a comic, could be a game. It all kind of depends on how the next few years are going to go as I finish developing its story here.
I love that, and I am thoroughly excited to see the progression of this. That like imagine Solar Dream as, even if you wanted to start it off as a comic, that's great too. If you wanted to go the route and say we're gonna go game first, that's cool. Imagine if you met somewhere in the middle and Solar Dream started off as, say, like a YouTube video or something like that, or some kind of a an animation clip where it's 3D
Mm.
rend. Like imagine a low poly 3D animation show. I don't see a lot of people doing that, if any. Like a lot of people work
Mm-hmm.
on those here and there and stuff, but like a very full-on show that's low poly 3D animated and it's based on characters and all that other design, like that sounds like something that could get picked up. That's like first and foremost the concept and the art, everything looks so rich behind it. It already drew me in, but the various routes you can go with it, so ever which way you choose, like that could be a household name.
I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think that would be pretty great. I mean, if I had to say what my ideal uh, thing for it would be,
Mhm.
I think it would be really cool if it could be a show. I think I
Solar
would love
Dream,
to see it in motion for sure.
even if you went the anime route with Solar Dream, however you wanted to go, like that could be absolutely phenomenal. Now, let's say, let's say, either one of those, if it's a video game, if it's a show or comic or whichever, um, if Solar Dream could collaborate with any specific company, entity, or publishing, whatever the case may be, you feel like would take this to the top and make your dream come to absolute life, who would you work with if you could pick? I'm talking, it don't matter. You could talk the Capcoms, the Nintendos, you could talk the Studio Mappers, the Studio Bones, all of those.
Oh man, in an ideal world where my solar dreams could come true, if I could get it animated, if I could, not gonna lie, it probably sounds like a pretty common answer. But I think after seeing like the track record in recent years and whatnot, I think if I could somehow get Solar Dream animated by Studio Trigger, I would need that would be a match made in heaven for me.
Studio Studio Trigger wasn't the one that did Wonder Egg Priority. Studio Trigger did God, why is it escaping me right now? Um
I can name them for you, bud.
please.
they, they worked on Kill la Kill,
Kill I Kill,
Edge.
yes.
Yep. Edge Runners. They're going to be working on the upcoming Dungeon Meshi anime, which is one of my favorite mangas.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I highly recommend it. If you haven't read Dungeon Meshi or Delicious in Dungeon, please do yourself a favor.
I'm
Um,
actually gonna search that too. You said Dungeon Meshi?
yes.
Got it. Give me 1 second. So Dungeon Meshi. So they're doing Dungeon Meshi. They did Kill I Kill. Did
Mm-hmm.
they do Darling in the Franks?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Okay, now I know where I know Studio Trigger from.
Yeah,
Studio Trigger does a lot of space shit too, actually. Now that I think about it.
they do. They do. Actually, one of my favorite like little shows they did was one called Space Patrol Leluco. And I mean, it's just a little show. Like they're like a handful of minutes per episode for 3 seasons.
Mhm.
But I rewatch that from time to time quite a bit.
What are some of your sleeper shows then, like in that sense that you would tell people, hey, you know what? Um, to know to know let me think of how to word this. To know Solar Dream, right?
Mm.
If you could pick any few shows, it's like, hey, watch this. And if you watch this, you would thoroughly enjoy Solar Dream. Which one would you pick?
Okay. Well, I will give you a handful of things.
Mhm.
In terms of like, let's say something to watch. Okay. I would probably say, and you actually brought this up before, Outlaw Star is definitely one of them. Um, one of my favorite Ghibli movies, Laputa Castle in the
Lap
Sky.
Fire.
It's
Fire.
just, oh, it's so good. And then I think this is going to be, oh, no. Yeah, the other one. Yeah, Trigun, of course,
Yeah.
Trigun.
The wonkiness of Trigun, like, absolutely. I feel like with the designs that you have, there was a piece you put up on Instagram not too long ago where it was like a digger character almost in a sense, like a construction person, I believe.
What? Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Was it the one with the big hard hat and stuff? Or
Yeah, I'm like, I
yeah.
see, like, and not in the sense of it's the same, obviously, but like parallels of how they could mesh well together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I see where the inspiration lies, and I see where like this could actually go, which is why like I'm advocating so hard for this Solar Dream aspect. Like, I feel like that could be something monumentally amazing, and I can tell that you cultivated and cared for this for as long as you've gotten to this point. So it shows that like you're not just gonna put this in somebody's hands who doesn't deserve. So Studio Trigger, I know you're watching this episode right here. This is the pitch. This is gold. This is fucking gold in your hands. Don't fumble this bag.
Please. Gosh, that would. I mean, that would. That would be a dream. I think, quite literally, it would be.
So now, rounding out to the near the end of this interview, I got a few more questions that I want to ask on the shoot off.
Mhm.
Um, I want to start off with advice that you would give to other creators who are in the same instance. So, like somebody who's up and coming who wants to say create a show or animate video games or do something of the sort, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, first off, I think I would just say, and it sounds like a cop out answer, but like, just do it. Like, if there's something that you want to do it.
Yep.
And I think to add on that, do it scared, be afraid, because I think there is no time like now to do something. And whether it is going to be writing a novel, working on a game project, maybe perhaps making a short film, or just drawing something. Like honestly, if you feel passionate about it, you're gonna want to do it anyway. So you might as well. And if it's not like maybe the thing that you were hoping it to be at first, it is something you've done. It is something that you can then use and springboard off onto the next thing. And don't be afraid to fail. I
Yep.
think that was the biggest thing I learned when I had to stop drawing. I thought I had failed, but I didn't. I just had to take a breather. I had to step back. And in that time, that reflection, I learned a lot. And I think that would be my second piece of advice. Learn. Just
Yep.
be ready to learn, be open to learn, absorb as much as you can. And if you want to make a story or a series, a setting of some kind, characters, find stuff that you enjoy that is just like that and just eat it up. Just gobble it all down like a Thanksgiving dinner. Like just go hog wild because the more you absorb, the easier it is to then put back out into the world because then you have inspirations that you can draw from. And I feel like for me, those are tools as just as much as like a pen, a tablet, a your brain. That is what it is. It is a tool, and you just have to learn how to mold it and use it.
Man, like I don't know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it kind of felt like you just spoke to me just now because even I have things in my wings that I'm like, I kind of want to do this. I feel like I should do this, but if I do this, will this be lame? If I do this, will I fail at it? Will it be an absolute failure? And I'm just sitting here cringing about it. But ultimately, when I do this thing, I have so much fun doing it. So it's like, how could I have failed if I'm already enjoying the voyage to getting to that desired outcome?
Mm-hmm. I
It seems
think
like I've already won.
I think that's the thing. You have to do it for you. It's for
Right.
you and nobody else. They just
That
get the privilege of getting to see it. That's
Yeah,
what it
that's the
is.
thing. Listen, it's my ride. You just get to come along for it. And listen, bro, like the sky is the limit. The sky is the absolute limit for Solar Dream, which is I know we're throwing crazy puns out here right now, but it is what it is. I'm gonna do that. Um, so I have one last question that I want to get off before I get to my very final segment. The
Sure.
very last question is, what is next for Otakun?
Ooh. Um, well, I mean, outside of continuing to work on Solar Dream, I think the next thing for me is probably oh man, gosh, I see. I have always thought about Solar Dream being the next thing, and now thinking beyond that. You know what? If there is one thing I would like to do after that, or even during it, I want to make I want to make a game. I think that's what I want to do. I want to do something like that, whether it is with Solar Dream or something new. I love games. I love being in this industry, and I like seeing people sharing that experience. So I think that's what's going to be next for me eventually.
What kind of game we thinking? We thinking like a adventure or RPG? What we talking?
Ooh, oh man, adventure,
Adventure?
adventure. Yeah,
Yeah. I can
not
see
enough
you.
adventure games out there.
We need more 3D platformers that are just wonky. And again, we talked about like the space mischief and things of that nature. We need more of like, I don't know. It feels like with a lot of these games, people's just creativities have gone to a different place of this side. And then it's
Mm,
not to say that it's not creative. Like it's very creative the things that come over on this side. But over here, there's just this like untapped potential of things where stuff used to be that could
Yeah,
sit very well right now, which is why I'm so adamant about when I spoke to you about the whole Mega Man Legends aspect and we brought up the Outlaw Star, we brought like that stuff right now would absolutely kill in a great way.
I agree.
And that's gonna happen with Solar Dream.
I hope.
um Now, and I'm glad we got to this because this leads to the very last segment of the show. Um, I am going to take this time really quickly to give you your flowers. So,
Oh,
as it stands now, right? So, initially, like I said, um, Reen is pronounced correct.
yes.
Reen was what brought me into actually seeing your content. I remember just randomly, I think I was searching Mega Man Legends for whatever reason. I think I was searching Mega Man Legends 3. Like it sounds funny, but it's dead serious. I was looking for like maybe a fan game or something that I could find or something to do to just like quench this thirst. And then I saw it was a Reddit thread for Reen, I think. You
Hmm.
might have posted the content there, and I was like, "Holy shit! Somebody made an original character based on the Mega Man low poly." Then I was like, "Ding! Wait a minute, I can do that." Haven't done it yet, obviously, but like then I saw more of your work because I was like, okay, well, this person made Ream. What else can they make? Like, and I saw just the art that you made that wasn't just low poly, like you actually drew things, the borderline storyboarding some of the stuff that you posted on your Instagram and some of the stuff you posted on your Reddit. I was like, okay, there's something here that's being made and this is going to lead to something grand and bigger in the future. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye out to make sure that I see it. um you mentioned, and I want to talk back to when you mentioned like there was like just kind of like a set wave and it wasn't like a big spark that made you draw, but like those waves and things that you do, like they have impact on others. Like somebody like me who I didn't know you from a can of paint, now I'm looking at myself like I have a fresh set of ideas that I can make and create. um that doesn't happen if I don't stumble upon the stuff that you make, and that doesn't happen if you don't actually make it, which doesn't happen if those waves that you've written, those don't happen. I hope that you continue on this path and the work that you do absolutely brings you everything you want. I hope that Solar Dream becomes a solar life, almost in a sense, where it's not just a dream. I hope that the person who drew that Sonic for you back at way back when and they gave it to you with the DeviantArt link, I hope that they're doing absolutely well because I hope that they realize that they may have just created one of the greatest juggernauts that can be in this space, and the future is absolutely bright. The mischief that's going to come from your work is absolutely going to be one that needs to be told from years to come. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for putting your art, your stuff out there for people to see. Thank you for, again, those links and stuff from Reddit for people to know how to actually do it. Thank you for keeping going. And I wanted to make sure you knew that. That shit is absolutely amazing. And you got at least one person in your corner right now.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It
But
is what it
damn.
is. Nah, it's serious, dude. It's like the work shows, it speaks for itself. It's fresh, it's innovative. It's going to be a hit. I'm not even speaking in hey, maybe, hopefully. I like to speak things into existence, and it's only a matter of time. And when it does, like I said, when Solar Dream gets merch and stuff, I'm gonna be walking around with the Solar Dream hats, the shirts, and everything. And maybe one day when I'm watching Solar Dream or something, I can pause it and I can actually play Mega Man Legends 3 when it comes out. Hopefully, just
Hopefully.
maybe we might have a fucking 4. I don't know, but a man can dream, and a man can always continue to just walk their best path. So I hope you're doing that on your end. I hope the listeners have enjoyed what they've learned from you. I hope that they continue on, but most importantly, make sure you keep your head in the clouds.